What's up, Tailgaters? My name is Tailgate Nate. Welcome to my channel. Big 12 predictions are done. We got 4 conferences down, 1 conference left in the Power 5. It is the ACC, but the Big 12 conference just concluded. Let's talk about the Big 12 standings that you see over there to the left of the screen. But hey, thank you guys so much for the support on the channel as of late. We are very close to 1,000 subscribers. So if you can help me out by getting there, I would appreciate that a ton. But there are more ways than you can do. There are more things that you can do to help me support my channel. You're doing one by watching the video, and you can do more by liking, commenting, subscribing. Anything else to help support my channel means a lot to me. Again, I'm predicting all 133 college football teams in the FBS ranks this summer. So doing your favorite team, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you get my thoughts on your favorite team. But we're going to go through the Big Ten standings board. Again, there are some tiebreaker scenarios in my prediction that have played out here. So this is the way that currently I see the Big 12 standings playing out. Let's go ahead and dive on in. So no divisions in the Big 12. So we're going to go from Cincinnati at the bottom to Texas at the top. Again, starting out with the Cincinnati Bearcats. It's a team going over a lot of overhaul this season. New head coach coming in, and Scott Satterfield as Luke Fickell left to go coach in Madison. And there is a lot of talent leaving that Cincinnati team as well. Ben Bryant, the starting quarterback, is gone. There's a lot gone in the pass catching room, wide receivers and tight end, as well as that running back room, losing some good pieces. Defensively, a lot is gone as well. It's a Cincinnati team that has some transfers coming in, but I think it'll take some time to adjust to level of play in the Big 12. Very successful run in the American Athletic Conference, but with all they lost, hey, I mean, you do have a coach in Scott Satterfield who did win to a certain level there at Louisville, but I think it'll take some time for them to get used to life in the Big 12. West Virginia, quite simply, is a team that I do not doubt talent-wise. They do lose a lot of good pieces from last year. Some pieces left through the portal, others through other means last season. But taking a look at West Virginia this year, that talent on the roster, I think, is going to be pretty solid. But I do not have faith in that coaching staff. I think Neil Brown and company, I think Neil Brown's not the right head man for the job. Could see him getting fired throughout the middle of the year, if not the end of the year. And who knows, maybe this West Virginia team proves me wrong because I think they got a lot of good talent on there. I'm just not a big fan of that coaching staff right now. I think that's going to hold them back. And I think that's a team that may be looking for a new head coach at the end of the season. Houston is a team that I also see, much like the case of Cincinnati, struggling mightily in Big 12 play. Now, Houston is above those two because they do play those two, and I'm predicting them to beat both of them in the regular season. But when you take a look at this Houston team, you lose Clayton Tune at quarterback. You lose your 2 best wide receivers, Tank Dell being the most notable one. Alton McCaskill didn't play last year, but even he is gone. He would have been huge to come back for this Houston team in 2023. And when you take a look just across the board for this Houston team, they're losing a lot of talent. Yes, some very talented transfers come into that program. But again, I think it's going to take a little bit of time. And with all they lost, I think life in the Big 12 may be a little rough for the Cougars in Houston. But the Cougars in BYU, who are up next year, I think are going to be a pretty solid team in the Big 12 Conference this year. I think they've got everything and more that they need to be able to compete. BYU is a team that, well, let's put it quite simply, definitely struggled last season. However, it's a team coming into this year that I think Kalani Sitake is bringing in a lot of very nice transfers. Keaton Slovis is coming in to be that quarterback to replace Jaron Hall. He's got some good pieces and talent around him, even though they do lose some key contributors. By no means do I think BYU is going to be in the top half of the Big 12 this year. However, making a bowl game in the Big 12 Conference this year, okay, I can see it. It's definitely a manageable schedule for them. They're capable of pulling off a big upset or two this season. I think Kalani Sitake's group may have their struggles their first year in the Big 12 coming over from the ranks of an FBS independent, but BYU is going to be a very solid team this year. I got them at 6-6. With the handful of teams that are 4-5 in the Big 12 Conference this year. Another one being the Kansas Jayhawks. Now, I'm riding the Kansas hype train a little bit higher than most. I think most have Kansas around the 6-6 round, but I got Kansas pulling off some pretty big wins this year. I think leads them to a really good record. That defense has definitely got to improve. It got killed outside the numbers last year by offenses that can spread you out, and there are a lot of offenses like that in the Big 12 this season. but defensively, I think they have all the talent in the world to be able to recoup and kind of get that defense to be better. It might not be excellent. It might not even be a top 50 defense, but I think it will be better in 2023. And we know the story, Jalen Daniels, that offense is going to be explosive, very good. I think it leads into a lot of wins, and Kansas will be a pretty good football team here in 2023. Oklahoma State is another team that I'm riding a little higher on than most. That's a team that got ravaged by the portal. But one thing you have to know as a college football fan, one thing that Oklahoma State fans surely know, is you don't count out certain head coaches. One of them is Mike Gundy. That team got ravaged by the portal. They're going to be breaking in a new starting quarterback. A lot of talent leaves the pass catching room and that defense. Yes, I know. But when you look at Oklahoma State, they are bringing in some talented transfers that will come in and replace that talent that is lost. I think this is a team that can still play really good brand of football this year. I think it leads them to 7 wins this year. I think Oklahoma State's going to be a solid team in the Big 12 Conference this year. Iowa State, the conversation around Ames with the Cyclones is interesting. I got them going back to a bowl game this year. Last year, the record probably did not tell you what this team was. They lost a lot of very competitive, close games. They ended up beating their rivals in Iowa City and Iowa as well. That may not happen this year. In fact, I'm predicting them to lose that game, but they're going to be a very competitive team in the Big 12 Conference, as they were last year. The only difference being, I think they end up getting some wins. I know Xavier Hutchinson, a lot of those pieces on defense are gone, but with Hunter Deckers, Jareel Brock, some of those other players, if they can reach their ceiling, that's going to be a very good, very competitive Iowa State team that may even have more wins than I'm predicting here. Moving into the top half of the Big 12, we get to the one new team in the Big 12 that I feel like is set up best for success in this conference, and that is the Central Florida Knights. All due respect to BYU, Houston, and Cincinnati, I think all three of them can have pretty solid rosters, and again, if Houston, Cincinnati can reach their potential, be pretty competitive with Central Florida. The conversation is as easy as they got a lot of great returning pieces, a phenomenal head coach in Gus Malzahn that has done the whole Power 5 thing with Auburn in the SEC, and Central Florida has got a lot of talent to be able to compete with a lot of the top teams in the Big 12 this year. Now, there are some areas for improvement on that Knights team, but with John Rice Plumlee coming back, all the talent around him, there's good talent defensively, even with all the pieces they lose. I think Central Florida is the best newcomer set up for success in the Big 12 Conference this year. Maybe next year is the year where they really break out when Oklahoma and Texas are gone, but Central Florida this season, I think, is going to be a very good, very competitive team that's not going to go down lightly to anyone that they happen to run into on that schedule. Baylor, I think, has all the talent for a bounce-back year this year. It was a little bit of a disappointment under Dave Aranda last season, a Baylor team that was expected to be a little bit better than they were, but Blake Shapen comes back, and even though a lot of key contributors on defense are going to be gone, there's a lot of nice talent in there with that Baylor program. I think they get a nice bounce-back year this year. I think Blake Shapen steps it up. He's got a lot of nice talent around him, and Baylor I have as a team that possibly, again, maybe can break their way back into the Big 12 championship game this year, again, if everything goes right. But I think Baylor and head coach Dave Aranda have all the ingredients for a bounce-back season in 2023. TCU is up here next, and to answer the question everyone's thinking right off the bat, no, TCU is not going to have another Cinderella run like they did last year in 2023. They just lost too much talent. Travius Hodges-Tomlinson out of the secondary, D. Winters out of the linebacking group, some other really good talent defensively, and offensively, their quarterback in Max Duggan, their top 2 leading rushers from last season, Quentin Johnson, is also gone off that team. They lose too much talent to be able to make a run quite like they did last year. However, when you take a look back with TCU, Chandler Morris, who was that starter last year, is coming back, will be the starter this year with Sam Jackson transferring out. When you take a look around this TCU football team, they're bringing in some really good transfers, and Sonny Dykes, very, very good head coach. Look at what he did last year. Now, TCU did win some very close games last season. They may not be the benefactor of such close games this season. However, when you take a look at this TCU Horned Frogs team, I think they're going to be pretty solid, pretty competitive. They definitely are a team that, if things go right, can push for a Big 12 conference title. But like I'm sitting at 5th here in the conference. Kansas State was the Big 12 champion last season, and I believe they can absolutely do so again in 2023. That's a team that some people may be overlooking a little bit, but last year was no special circumstance. Chris Kleiman is a very good head coach. Kansas State's returning a lot of talent, albeit you do lose Deuce Vaughn, Malik Knowles off the offensive end. A lot of talent is gone out of that secondary. But Kansas State with Will Howard, I think, will have a pretty solid offense. Defensively in the front seven, there are a couple key contributors that are gone. But all in all, this Kansas State team, I think, is going to be able to compete for a Big 12 championship this year. I think if Will Howard can really ignite this offense, Kansas State's going to be a force to be reckoned with this year. I just have them falling just short of the Big 12 conference title. And how about this? Due to tiebreakers and everything, I got the Texas Tech Red Raiders sitting at third in the Big 12 conference. Yes, third. I am on the Texas Tech hype train. They have a lot of pieces in the skill position groupings, and while the defense definitely has its areas to improve, there's a lot of talent there that can help it do so. The one thing I want to see with Texas Tech this year is their quarterback play needs to improve. With Shuck, with Martin, I believe is the other quarterback's last name. Whoever happens to play quarterback probably end up being Tyler Shuck. If they can maximize their potential at the quarterback situation, watch out, because you could seriously have Texas Tech get into a Big 12 championship this year. That is legit. But I think when you ask any college football fan, the top two teams in the Big 12 this year are Texas and Oklahoma, and they're the two teams I have going to the Big 12 championship. We'll start with Oklahoma first. We know what the offense is. It's going to be outstanding, but that defense was not great last year. It's going to need a lot of pieces to improve in order to get back to a Big 12 conference championship game, which I think they do here. I have faith that that defense will improve, and it's especially got to improve now that they're going into the SEC. But when you look at that defense overall, it's got a lot of good talent, got a lot of good pieces, and I think there's absolutely the potential for it to be a lot better than it was, but they have not really done a whole lot to help prove that theory that they are going to be better than they were. And then Texas, I see finishing at first. I know Texas has been a team that has gotten a lot of hype over the past couple of years, and I haven't really ridden it as of late. This year, I am on it. I think Texas is going to be a very good team. That offense, I think, is going to be one of the top 10 offenses in the entire nation with Quinn Ewers or whoever happens to play at quarterback. They got a lot of talented options back there. Malik Murphy and Arch Manning are there as well. The embarrassment of riches they have in that wide receiver group. And yeah, the defense has got to get better, but it is trending in the right direction. Unlike their rivals in Oklahoma, I think that Texas defense, while it also has to improve, is trending in that right direction. That's what I believe Texas to be on top of Oklahoma in the Big 12 standings. And again, you'll find out my prediction on who wins that Big 12 championship later, but I think those are definitely the two most talented teams. But this is the Big 12 we're talking about. It's been unpredictable the past couple of years. There are a lot of sleepers in this conference, a lot of teams that can make a run to Arlington to play for a Big 12 title. And we'll have to wait and see who actually gets there in 2023. Hey, the Big 12 is done. The ACC is coming up next. Appreciate all you guys watching, supporting the channel. Remember to play hard, but tailgate harder. See all you guys in the next video. Goodbye.